Hey guys, in this episode of HubFuel, we're going to be talking about a really exciting update to the HubSpot CRM in the form of inbound calling. Now, historically, up until this point, you've only been able to use HubSpot Calling for outbound calls, so making calls from your CRM to contacts and having that automatically log. However, with the recent changes to the system, you can now take inbound calls, right? So you can have bi-directional communications with your prospects, customers, and leads. So what we're going to be talking more about today is how to set that up, how to leverage it, and the pros and cons of implementing this within your organization. So without further ado, let's jump into it. So what we're going to want to do is essentially head into HubSpot. Now, at the time of recording, this is currently in beta, so you'll just need to enable this beta. However, at the point, depending on when you're watching this may be live within your portals as standard. But for now, if you are looking for the beta, you can access this by just going to the portal at the top right and heading down to product updates. And from here, what you will do is if you scroll down under early access, you will have a betas option. And what we can then do is just search for the receive calls in HubSpot, right? What this will allow you to do is receive incoming call, manage missed calls, and also listen to voicemails within HubSpot. So really kind of building on the one-way functionality HubSpot typically always had and giving you that closed loop kind of approach to voice comms. So all you need to do is press join the beta and that will enable the settings for your portal. Now, if we head over to our portal in question, upon rolling out the actual beta, you will see you get this nice, lovely pop-up called inbound calling in the top right, which is basically a newfound symbol that wasn't there previously, which basically, similar to the conversations inbox, allows you to label and list when you're online, offline, and ready to take calls. Now, what this basically looks like is by default, depending on if you have the tab open, will depend on if you can take calls. So for example, if I was to refresh my screen very quickly, just wait for this to load, you will see by default, I am set to on. In order to receive calls, you need to make sure that you've opened this in your tab. However, in order to actually take calls in the first place, we need to make sure that you've been set up with a HubSpot calling number. So in order to do this, what we just need to do is head over to the settings area at the top and scroll down the left-hand side down to Tools and Calling, where we can customize all the different calling configurations that we need to do. As you can see, you have your phone numbers. Depending on your commercials, you may have a different allowance of how many HubSpot phone numbers you can have. So all we need to do is simply set up a HubSpot phone number, which will be tracked to detect calls coming in, just by pressing Get a HubSpot phone number. As you can see, it kind of walks you through in terms of how many collective minutes you have, ultimately how many numbers you've got, and basically which way in terms of voice comms can come in. If we then press next, you can basically add a suffix. So basically you can change the country of that in, which is currently supported in Canada, the United Kingdom, and the United States. And it will give you the default area code / prefix. If you press generate a number, that will now generate a new phone number for you, which will be hosted by HubSpot. As you can see here, it'll give you a mobile phone looking number. You can then press get this number and it will create the number for you, right? And once that's created, you can then assign that to one of your reps. So for example, if I wanted to, I could say that this number corresponds to this person in our portal, like so. Now, the important thing to point out here is you can only assign this to people with a paid seat. So in terms of the Sales Enterprise, Sales Pro, Service Enterprise seats, they will need to have that allocated in order to be able to be assigned a HubSpot phone number for calling. So as you can see here, that's why you've got people grayed out. Once you have set that up, you may notice that the HubSpot phone number that is issued may not be the phone number you want to actually receive the calls on. So what you can actually do is have this as your marketing facing number, but when the call is detected, it will forward it to maybe your personal phone number, right? Which may not be hosted with HubSpot. The call will still be tracked. It will still go into your CRM. It just means that the call will be redirected to your personal handset, but the HubSpot phone number is what's used to detect and initiate it. Once you're happy with that, press save, and you can now see that we've allocated a new HubSpot phone number. You will also be able to see if it's entitled to inbound and outbound calling. Now, one thing to note is you may want to enable transcriptions, right? So you may want your calls to be automatically recorded and monitored for training and quality purposes. So if you go along the top, you have two tabs. You have call configurations. So just making sure that's enabled and allowing call recording so you can listen back to your phone calls from the CRM after they've actually happened. And then under transcription analysis, what I would definitely recommend is actually turning this on so you can get a written transcript of anything that actually comes in via HubSpot as well. From here, you can also see your usage, so how many minutes each rep has in terms of the month, and you can also set up track terms, right? So under track terms, you may want to use this for sales coaching, customer success coaching. So we may put like a track term, and we want to call this, for example, customer success. And this is the term we want to look for, frustrated, right? And what that will basically do is when we're reviewing our calls, it will pull out all the terms where frustrated is mentioned in the call. So we can really just jump into key points of the call to really understand why people may be frustrated. If we press save, you can see we create categories and track terms as well. Now, how this all comes together, the last thing we just need to do is obviously we've enabled that for the portal. We've assigned the phone numbers out. What you just need to do on a person-by-person basis is whoever has the phone number assigned, just go to your preferences under general. You will have basically a tab for calling, and you'll be able to see the number that your admin or yourself has allocated to you. And just making sure that basically under device ringing, you decided which way you want to receive it. So if you want to receive the calls directly on your browser, so your device like the laptop, you would have this ring in HubSpot browser. Alternatively, you have forward to a phone number. So the inbound call would come in, it would through the HubSpot phone number, that would then redirect to your personal handset number, which may be on your general contract, pay as you go. And ultimately you could take that at the convenience of your own mobile phone, but still have that tracked to the CRM. So again, make sure that's configured on a case by case, depending on the scenario and the working environment of the person. And what that basically does is that's the overall config, right? So that's basically that setup. So now that we've actually configured the backend, meaning that we've actually set up our phone numbers, we've allocated those to the reps, or either on the sales or the service side, and we've enabled the functionality of the beta, depending on the time you're watching this video. Now we just need to configure what this looks like on the front end, right? So now how do we use this newfound functionality within the portal? So as we've mentioned previously in the video, it doesn't matter where you are in HubSpot, it will now be in your top nav. And as you can see, it's unlit. And that basically means I'm unable to take calls. And the critical thing to understand with inbound calling and the HubSpot new functionality is when you click this, if it's not lit with a green light, you will not be able to take calls. Meaning that if someone rings that phone number, they will automatically go to voicemail where they can leave a message, but the call will still be tracked in HubSpot. It will just be a voicemail as opposed to a connected call. Now, in order to take the calls, all you need to do is select Open Call tab and allow HubSpot to use your microphone, right? So let it use your device and your settings to take the phone call ultimately. Now, what you'll find here is basically this is the HubSpot calling window. You can leave this in the background whilst you're doing other things. You can go to different tabs and you can see that you've basically got your call remote here, right? So even though I've got that on a tab and it's open, I could be working away, but now I'm able to take calls. So theoretically, if I were to receive a call, this would now come through. So we can see that the contact's coming through, it's matched it to the contact record, and we can answer the call directly from our HubSpot account, right? So it's inbound call that I'm answering the call here. I'm talking with the prospect, I'm talking with the lead, and everything I'm saying right now, knowing it's going on to Daniel Edwards' record, and all the actual transcription is being done for me. I'm saving time, it's inbound, it's included in your HubSpot subscription. With anything, I can actually mute myself. I could open a keypad and redirect it if I wanted to. And I can end the call, right? So I could end the call for both parties, like so. And where that will then locate is you can see that it's logged a call. I click this notification. It takes me to the full call, and within a few minutes, it will have processed any notes that I took on the call. It will pick up any tracked terms from what we set up in terms of frustrations or frustrated. It will also provide us with a transcript as well as all the participants we had on the call. And the great thing is you can collaborate internally with your colleagues to really go to get feedback. How do you think this went? Press save, and I can get even my manager, my colleagues to review my call performance and really optimize that based on the track terms. And where this comes full center is in the contacts area under calls. You will now be able to see all the calls that you have taken with the associated contacts if the phone number it came from was on the contact record. So we can actually jump into a call now, like a historic one that we may have received. And boom, we've got a recording, we've got a transcript, we've got comments, we've got tracked terms. It's all there. All my admin's done. I can focus on selling as opposed to admin. And that's the beauty of HubSpot Calling now. So something that seemed as a distant VoIP kind of want and need that the CRM couldn't perform, now can. You can take inbound, you can do outbound calls, you can update the participants, you can add new contacts to the call if you realize that, oh, actually someone else was on the call ringing from the phone this time, and I can associate that as well. And better yet, everything in HubSpot can be reported on. So you can look at the number of inbound calls certain agents have taken as well. So you can really do data-driven growth and analysis as well. And that's it. That's HubSpot Calling. It's a great update. It allows you to really bring VoIP into your CRM space. It allows you to see contacts. It does the transcription for you. You can do track terms. You can assign it. All you need to have is a paid seat in your HubSpot account and just allocate a HubSpot number. And from there, you're set. All your phone calls are logged and you can really start growing with voice over IP. If there's any questions on that, be sure to let me know. But otherwise, if you enjoyed this Hub Fuel, be sure to check out our Hub Fuel channel and playlist on YouTube, and also stop by our Video Hub for some of the latest product updates and the latest HubSpot how-tos. So speak to you soon, and until next time.